Accept your death.
Some people that I know, they've talked about this time and time again about how the position in which you're most comfortable sleeping. And I've seen some memes about like the tiger knee position from like Street Fighter. I think what's his name? Sagat or whatever does. Like,
Sagat, yeah.
That's apparently a popular position, which is actually the one that I find myself most comfortable. I cannot sleep on my back. I don't know how people do that.
I can't either.
I think you're actually crazy.
Either.
I think what's actually crazier than that is people sleep on their stomach. I'm worried that I would suffocate myself. You know, I got to be on like one of my sides. I don't know.
Well, sleeping on your stomach doesn't mean sleeping on your face with your face flat in the ground, you know, at the same time. But that's kind of like, you know, that's how you get your neck kinked, in my opinion. Like, I can literally only sleep in one position, unless I'm just so dog shit tired that I could just sleep sitting upright in a chair or something. I can only sleep in like the fetal position on my left side facing the outside of the bed.
Always the outside.
I can't face like the inside, like towards another person or the wall or anything like that. So it's got to be. So there's my.
You can't leave your
neuroses
back open
regarding sleeping.
To predators, you know, there could be boogeymen that you got to be aware of that.
I don't know what it is. I don't like breathing. Like something about like my breathing, like when my face is to the wall, like if I'm on that side of the bed or if there's like another person there. I just always have to be facing outward.
I feel like you're recycling your own breath, kind of breathing into the wall and having it come back.
Yeah, just doesn't it feel muggy?
I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've got openings on both sides of my bed, so I don't know.
Well, you're right in the middle.
That's a whole other conversation too. Some people think that's crazy, like bad feng shui or whatever. Have to have your bed in a certain position or up against the wall or that kind of a thing. But I don't know. I always have mine open. I can roll off of either side if I want to, you know.
Or the bottom if you want to sleep upside down.
Or I've never thought of that, you know. Maybe I'll
do a backward somersault out of bed.
Do a barrel roll out of bed.
Yep.
I could do that. But right now I'm going to do a backwards barrel roll into our comments.
Yeah. Graceful.
That was better than previous ones, I will say. Yeah, maybe not my finest work, but either way. Getting right into it, Timification says, "Hey Dink, a proud Deadly Alliance main and had a question for you about your Quan combo enders. Notice you usually end your combos in forward 4-4. You found that 1-2 down back 4 is my B&B ender for damage. And then I use forward 2-1 when I want to put them full screen as it does slightly more damage than forward 4-4. Maybe I'm missing something with the gravity or frame data, but I was curious why you seem to use forward 4-4 so much." Yes, so sometimes depending on the combos that I'm doing, there's so much gravity that at the end the 4-2-1 can drop. It's not super inconsistent, but it can happen. So I like the consistency of forward 4-4 a lot more. Also, the forward 4-4 has more hit advantage on it than the forward 2-1, and I believe pushes just a little bit farther screen, which I like to use to set up portals or bone domes or anything like that. So I like to think that the damage that I'm giving up from using the forward 2-1, I make up by getting it from other things by using that forward 4-4. Sometimes you kind of got to give up that thought of damage in the moment and think about what like residual damage you can get because of what you use there. And that's kind of my mindset in that kind of regard, you know?
A little less damage for a little bit better of a situation.
Exactly. And I want them to be full screen anyways. And I do find that because there's like a little bit of a bounce off of that forward 4, the first one, and that gravity is consistent. So it very rarely ever drops. Usually if I drop it, it's because the distance. I messed up the distance and I'm like too far away and it whiffs or something like that. But I usually have the wherewithal to have like a standing 4 into Bone Dome or something ready if I know that that's going to be too far away. So it's weird how like you come up with all these different like little intricacies that like you just know like in a situation or like you can feel that your combo's going a certain way where you're going to have to like switch it up. You know, those are like the crazy things in fighting games. But
I agree. Why don't you ever switch to the forward? I literally never see you use the forward 2-1 Do you ever keep that in mind? Like if it's going to kill or something, or it's just not worth it just for the sake of consistency and the damage isn't quite that much more, or what?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there are probably places where I could literally use like 0.10 damage, and I just don't do it because I'm so used to my regular B&B. Because I haven't really introduced that move into my repertoire, you know. If I do use that move, I will use it kind of in neutral, just because I know that second hit has such a long range, it can keep it safe and knock back fairly decency. But I don't ever use it in my combos. And like I said, I probably should do as I say, not as I do, as I was literally just talking about switching things up. But yeah, that's why I generally use forward 4/4 a little bit more. So thanks for the thanks for the comments, and thanks for noticing my intricacies. If you see me start to use forward 2/1 as an ender now, just know it's because of you. You're making changes.
I knew you were going to pick that comment because you and I have had this conversation a couple times.
Yeah, and about that, and just combos and stuff in general. And that's when those are the really fun parts about mastering a character, when you can like have this big tool set, that you can switch things out for here and there, or end things different ways. It's, I don't know, creativity. It's fun part of fighting games. Moving on here, Natty T 4721. I may be alone here, but one thing I was really disappointed about MK1 was the lack of a new NRS original character. This is the first game since MK9 where they didn't introduce a new character. And I mean, new character, I guess not. We got 2 new cameos, though, in Janet Cage and Madame Beau. Kind of like reimagined, but, still technically new. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, you're right. There's no new characters. Like in MK11, we had Cetrion and Collector and Iris, and then MKX we had the Combat Kids, Ferritor, Devora. We had a lot of them in MKX.
A lot in MKX. We were just talking about that on a previous podcast, right? And then they cut it down for MK11. And then I'm pretty sure the only reason Geras is the MK11 character to be on this current roster is how he fit into the story. Had that been more of a story arc, that would have fit Cetrion better than it would have been. Like, I think they just wanted one MK11 character to carry over. And then what they would normally do for new characters on the roster, I think they put that effort instead, effort and roster real estate to the 3D era to bring back characters like Havoc and Ashra and Atara.
Yeah, because they do feel like new characters compared to their old counterparts. Like there's 4 things there that kind of make them what they are as a character, like Havoc with his crazy limbs and Ashra with the sword, but like it really does feel like they're new characters. And even like Sector and Cyrax in the combat pack, like new characters, reimagined, but new characters. So, but
they always kind of do that though, right?
Kind of
like a lot of like the base roster, they don't play anything like their previous incarnations, and except for like the obvious broad stroke motifs. Like we've talked about that before, right? Scorpion Spear and Teleport, Sub-Zero Slide and Ice Ball, Katana Fan, and some kind of lift, Melina Ball Roll, Psy, Teleport, things like that. But like all the buttons and strings and stuff, that's what they like to kind of mess with. And like hit reactions, right? It's the same move. She still has her ball roll, but how does that fit inside the game's mechanics? And they make you spend a bar like they did in MK11, or that's kind of how Injustice works as well,
right? Yeah,
like remember Sub-Zero's Ice Ball costing a bar.
Yeah, people were so mad about that.
I know.
We brought that up before, I think, but yeah, you're not wrong. No new original character. An original character would have been nice, even one. I have no idea. I'm not creative when it comes to those types of things, so I have no idea what that would even look like. But it'll be interesting to see where they go story wise from here, because I'm pretty sure they all knew that the whole multiverse thing was not super well received. I don't think people found that. But again, it really feels like MK1 was supposed to go a different route than.
How did Chaos Reign's story even end? Because they were planning on doing another one, at least, hypothetically. So I imagine it would have been kind of like open-ended, or maybe they made it ambiguous. So it could have been the last one or set up a next one. But I don't even remember how that story ended.
I think it had something to do with the Kami Dogu. Like they saved the Kami Dogu or something from Havoc, and then they stored it away somewhere, and then I think Sub-Zero, or they cleansed Noob or something. It was a pretty forgettable story arc, to be fair. The only thing I really remember is Tanya's face in that one moment. That's burned into my mind for.
Dude, that's good. They knock it out of the park with stuff like that. Like that's the craziest animation I feel like I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to like glaze or anything here, but that was like really just so many subtleties. And they did like the big zoom ins and stuff too, right? They weren't trying. There was no like trickery or nothing obscured. It was all like brightly lit and front and center, and it looked super good.
Yeah. Those are the things that they really knock it out of the park with, which I got to give them credit for. They're good at that. So, anyways, thanks for the comment. Appreciate that. Last one here. We got Henlix. Says Liu Kang has zero sauce. Love from the UK. And this is actually an interesting jumping off point here, because Liu Kang got an indirect buff in the fact that Motaro no longer takes health, which we had a patch. Let's talk about that. It seems like, okay, so first off, if you follow the channel, I'm a little annoyed that this whole thing kind of messed up my every cameo with Quan Chi thing. So there's a couple I'm looking at Frost again, actually. I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear, but yeah, this definitely felt like a cameo patch. There are some changes to like the main roster, but the majority of the stuff that seemed big anyway to me seemed to be with the cameos.
They always have these themes, right? They decide that they're going to do something, then apply it universally, or tweak things all kind of the same way, which was increases its recharge time, and it starts recharging a little bit sooner, right? So it doesn't have as long as a cooldown, and it'll recharge faster. And they did that to a couple of Frost things, and Goro, and who else?
So let's see here. I got it here. Kano got a throw damage buff.
Yeah, 130. So he's on par with Sub-Zero now. Yeah. That's the second largest meterless forward throw in the game, behind Janet and Sonya at 140.
Kind of a weird change, to be honest, in my opinion. Like I just doesn't really add much to the character, but I mean, it feels like they wanted to buff him in some way, but he's still kind of base day one cameo. It doesn't do much different. Knives, Unga Bunga, Kano Ball, laser, and now he has throw damage. So I didn't really think he needed a buff, but sure, let's give it to him anyways. Why not? Right. Darius now gives you 100 health, and the tornado kick refill rate slightly increased. So because before I tested this a little bit in practice mode, and like before you kind of had to wait till his entire animation was over before it started regenerating. But now it kind of starts just towards the end of that, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Because he had what, like, kind of similar to what Tremor was dealing with before he got buffed, was the cooldown situation. So now he gives you extra health, and he has better cooldown. So I wonder if we'll see Darius more. He does some nice stuff. He does do some nice things.
I feel like I have started to see him more just within the last couple months. I'm seeing him pop up more and more. He's not so obscure. Like, he's about as obscure, and I just don't feel like he doesn't have any go-to teams the way that, like, Homelander or Scorpion and Farah that's obvious, right? And then Noob and Ermac with Janet, or Rain and Janet, or now, outside of cameo buff, Sub-Zero got the damage scaling buff off of his freeze abilities. I saw a couple clips of Sub-Zero Janet doing Ermac damage with Gento, setting up Gento and, doing 530 or 550 or 60 in the corner. So not really encroaching on or breaking 600 the way that Ermac can with his, like, really optimal starter sort of thing. But I don't know. I expect some Sub-Zero fuckery here with that. Even again, that little change that I feel like is really easy to scoff at, but I feel like it opens doors. It opens minds. It makes people, encourages people to try things instead of just dismissing it outright because of X, right? Whether it's the cameo makes me lose health, so I don't care what else it gives to me, or I don't like this path because, it's 1% less damage, and to each their own. But I feel like it encourages people to explore more.
Yeah, they have more options now. And like, I don't know, Sub-Zero is a character that the community is super loud and super like out there about what they want and what they think the character should be. And I don't know if this is finally going to be kind of like, this is what they wanted. Because I mean, now he does really good damage. So he's got super solid mids, good movement, very good cameo synergy. And now he has more damage on top of all of that. So I think Sub-Zero is in a good place right now. So they made Raiden's Razzle Dazzle move actually do damage. I don't know.
Everyone was wondering why it didn't do anything at all. And they're like, oh yeah, I guess we forgot that.
So here's 20 damage. So I mean, I still don't really understand what that move's supposed to do. Does it have like insane hit advantage or something? I've never actually played around with it.
I have no idea.
If you're a Raiden player, let us know. Or if you literally know anything about this move, because Raiden just annoys me too much in this game for me to play him. He's just a little bitch boy and I don't like it. He's kind of fall from grace from the dark Raiden of MKX, So let me know. Reptile, Acid Ball now does 70 damage and recovers 6 frames faster. Enhanced Acid Spitball now does 110 damage and is a mid. So Reptile,
and it's fast.
It is fast.
That is fast.
I was kind of hoping that Shujinko would get that buff as well, but he didn't. I was fully expecting that to go in, and when Shujinko steals it, it's a mid now, but he just takes the regular version, not the enhanced version. Makes me sad. Here's
no,
one.
F that guy.
So the Shujinko salt over the course of this game's life.
I watched your video earlier, and you're fighting against that noob with Quan Shujinko, and you're like, yeah, I don't think that's very fun for him. And I'm like, because I play noob, right? And I was like, it's not. I mean, that guy was mashing on you pretty hard, right? He was doing like pretty typical noob sorts of things, but dude, that slide being plus on block and comboing in the corner, and you didn't even use the other stuff. But I don't want to derail the patch talk too much just while we were like on that subject.
No, yeah, you're right. +5 on block and in the corner. So I mean, we had to Juan get some pressure for once.
Right.
Here's one that really interested me was Li Mei. So flipping heel kick and enhanced flipping heel kick recover 6 frames faster on miss. And they no longer have a different recovery when the last hit is flawless blocked. And this has always been a lot of people's gripes with Li Mei, is that like her neutral sucks, and I played her a little bit. I could say it's you have to definitely play a strong neutral with her, but this is kind of a way for her to skirt that a little bit. So you just jump up, enhance flipping heel kick, cover all the area, and you're safe at -6, and you're in their face. Yeah,
it was so high risk. So high risk, low reward before. I mean, it's an overhead and you get a little bit of damage. And I don't know if were cameos comboing that for her on EX, maybe.
Yeah, I think on the EX, Scorpion could. Yeah. That was like a thing for her.
Scorpion Mamato and stuff.
And then if it hit too, it kicked the opponent away from her. So, I mean, it's not really, then she's just having to work to get in again. So it's interesting now that you can kind of use a bar to try and just kind of skirt the neutral a little bit. I mean, I'm sure up block is still a thing, but apparently you don't get that different hit reaction anymore off of it. So we'll see if we
on flawless block it's safe. And there's ambushes that can punish her. I saw one clip of Tremor, so you got to spend the Tremor, the full bar.
I see, for the ambush.
And yeah, ambush into Aftershock upper crust, and it hits her in the gap, I think, before the EX hit comes out or something.
Hit her right in the gap. Love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's enough for us to start seeing Li Mei's, but here's one that made me extremely salty when I read it. Like, I think I literally punched my table when I saw this. So Tanya, Sidewinder now has 14 frames startup, down from 16, and reduced combo scaling damage after drill kick and Umgadi evade. So that was already a really annoying matchup for Quan Chi, and I really enjoyed it when they slowed down that mid, because it made that forward 2 string into Mavado low shot a little bit more damageable or manageable. But now not only is that back, but Motaro doesn't take health anymore. So she has all this health. 4-2-1-1 Motaro low shot. 4-2-1-1 Motaro low shot. I can skydrop through that, but That's literally my only option. It feels like a block infinite. I hate that matchup. I really don't like it at all. I know you've been messing around with Tanya. Did you find anything interesting with the damage scaling things that they changed?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts about that, but we were just talking last week about we were speculating about what they would change about her. I think maybe even in the comments of last week's episode, someone brought up Tanya. We're like, well, if they revert the forward two or make that any better, she's already kind of a forward two machine, and but they reverted it 14 frames, and I think that was to kind of help her out in a few regards. So they gave her, I think they nerfed it in the first place because it was kind of oppressive, and they were giving her easier access to the guidance charges, which gives her more range on those buttons. Like if she dashes into them,
Right.
She gets. I mean, that range is nothing to sneeze at. Like that's really nice. So now it's 2 frames faster. But remember, they also changed the full screen, the forward 211. Last patch or the patch before, they gave it like a little bounce to allow to combo with cameos or whatever.
Oh,
But
right,
in
I forgot
between
about
its
that.
speed and that extra little bounce, I feel like it's a lot more consistent using that string in the middle of combos, and then canceling into your drill kick instead of always using the standing 2 1+3 for all your filler. So I feel like it opened up some combo pathing that way. We saw Revit leafing post that disgusting Jax, for full Jax meter
Yeah, that
with
was
the
gross.
backbreakers. Like if she has you cornered, because in the corner she can go into. So drill kick has better damage scaling, and if she hits you at that point blank, she recovers in time to do a standing 1, which still has a gravity and a little bit of a pop up for her to do her regular combo routes, and she's got all that Jax stuff in between. So no EX bar, but full cameo. And in a corner situation, but still like easily breaking 500 damage. I think he said in the comments that path is doing like 40 or 50 more damage than it did pre-patch.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm sure we'll see the rise of Tanya again. I think the character is a little bit more complete now. They gave like her buffs a little bit of a more viability. She still got those huge buttons, and now she has her forward 2 back. So I don't know. Time will tell if we'll see more for Tanya.
I know. We'll see.
Homelander, it looks like, from what I can tell from this, flight attacks no longer enable auto block. Flight punching down is 2 less hit advantage, and flight bloody knuckles is 10 less hit advantage. I think this was just to address those loops that he was getting with Madame Bo. I don't really think this is going to change the character much at all.
Did they change something about Madame Bo as well?
They did. Let's go over her now. Tea House Tumble is now +6 on hit, down from +10. Increased victim regions on hit, and the kettle kicks follow-up starts 1 frame faster. So I think those 2 things might have been in tandem? Question mark?
Yep.
Maybe that's what was causing that. Well, it's not infinite, but it's like unscaled damage. It was pretty nutty damage. So I'm glad that they addressed that. It's a shame that it took as long as they did. Usually they're pretty good about hot fixing stuff like that, even if it's something like, the Ghostface situation where they just completely disabled a move for a while. Just get out of the game,
Yeah.
Took them a bit with this one.
I know, in the middle of the pro competition too.
Yeah, this is quite the switch up for like, we're getting kind of like the last 2 events and then final combat kind of a thing. So like, I don't know. That's a bit of a switch up now. So we'll see. I don't know. I love things like that. Like as a competitor, I would probably be a little bit upset, especially if like one of my characters was changed quite a bit. But that's not me anymore. So as a spectator, I'm excited to see what teams we see come out of this. Are we going to see more Frost now, or like literally any Frost? Because we got ice wall refill rate increased and refill cooldown reduced by 1. Refill rate after follow-up also increased, and then snowflakes refill rate slightly increased and refill cooldown increased by 2 seconds. Overall 1 second faster. So more wall shenanigans? Question mark.
I think so. I mean, when I play Noob Frost and Sector Frost, I can't even tell you how many situations I've been in where I go to Vortex, I go to loop it, and I am just a hair away from her from a half a cameo to get the orb out in time, like in the special cancel window for Sector, or just when my feet touch the ground with Noob, which just gives them just that extra 1 or 2 frames that they need to either try to jump out or challenge it in some way. So I think this feels like one of those things, like one of those minor health adjustments from like MK11, where they're talking about like they gave Cassie Cage less health, and they're like, it's just like so she can survive one less poking situation. Like her opponent always has like that sort of like advantage. So it feels like a really minor adjustment with kind of like, dude, they've been so careful with this cameo. They have not gone wild at all. No big jumps. They've just been tweaking her a little bit, introduce a new move, and then just little adjustments. I feel like every single patch they touch her, and it's nothing wild. It's always just these tiny little tweaks. They're being very, very cautious. I think people want that orb to be an ambush. I think that would be broke.
I think that would be broke as well. I don't welcome that at all, but
or like a half summon, half ambush, like Sonya's projectile, where you have to call it out like a summon, but after you've before she releases it, so it'd be the same time for the orb to come out, but you can like move sooner. Like say like you're charging a Sonya projectile, like that sort of thing. And I think even then, like that's how you would start seeing people using her more, but that'd be so annoying.
Yeah, that would be annoying. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would be down for that. Like, like I like that idea, like a half summon, half ambush, call her out. And then maybe she's a little slower, but I don't know the logistics of that, how you work the cancel in. I guess the cancel would have to be during the summon animation.
Right. Like think of it just like Sonya. There's a couple other examples, right? Where if you're like charging the cameo, then you can start moving before it's finished, like while it's still like charging up. Projectile is the best. The Sonya one is the best example I can think of. So let's just say it still takes 68 frames for the orb to come out, but on frame 34 of the startup, the player can already start to move, while she's kind of wrapping up getting the orb out there. That would make for some really fucked up setups.
That would be cool. That would be really cool. And I'd welcome that. So I feel like the big casualty of this entire patch was our poor friend Goro. They really tried. Raise the roof, refill rate slightly increased, and refill cooldown increased by 3 seconds. Overall, 1 second faster. Refill rate after follow-ups also increased. Everyone I've talked to has said that this is still not enough for that cameo. He's still gone for way too long for what you need him to do. Although this is better. And you may have seen my video yesterday when I played against that Baraka Goro, which was actually nuts. At least we're seeing him a little bit now, and I'm sure there's still some meta pairings. Like I'm sure him and Tanya are still good. But I don't know. Everyone seems to be saying that it wasn't enough for poor Goro. He'll be left on the sidelines. What a fate for an iconic character such as him. Prince of the show.
I know. Big beefy Goro. Like we want the, big beefy Shao's got an extra 100 health, Havoc an extra 100 health, and Tremor was giving 100 health. They nerfed that down to 50 or whatever, but all you can see why is not Big Beef Lord? Like when Farah came out, 150 health to kind of give you that Tor, sort of feeling, big meat shield. And that's why is Goro of all characters taking away 50 health?
Yeah, I have no idea. If it's inconsistent with the storylines that they've written. So,
and they're kind of like, to damned with the balance or to damned with whatever, we're going with the theme that this thing should be giving you more health, no matter what they've kind of like throttled back on that, and made some adjustments and stuff. But they absolutely do that sort of shit all the time. And he started this game with 950 health. And like we were just talking about Frost, he gets little tweaks here and there, little things. And they introduced the new move, like he's got the 2-in-1 cancels, but he's still got the cooldown problem. And here we have another little tweak, another little buff, Frost style, but way less little tweaks. And they're definitely not as effective as they have been for her. So
no, definitely not.
But I think he's got the fastest ambush in the game. Is kind of like his thing. That up punch, I think, is faster than any other ambush. I remember somebody like Ketchup or Mustard saying one time.
Oh,
maybe?
I actually never registered that. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I think that is the fastest ambush, but I never really even thought of that. So, I mean, I guess if that's what you want, but I mean, it's still early. We're still in the first week. Maybe I'm completely out to lunch to this. Someone in the comments is going to rip me to shreds and say, hey, what are you talking about? Goro is the top tier, the top tierest cameo of this meta. And someone's going to win the next pro competition with fucking Panya Goro or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, let's go.
We'll see. But one thing I thought that was actually crazy, especially after we saw Ninja Killa, was increasing Conan's health by 100. So now, like, Conan Shujinko is a 1200 health character, and you got a character that has 1200 health that can easily hit for 600 damage per combo. That's actually crazy. I'm gonna learn that pairing for sure, because I just want to see the craziness that Shujinko can bring to this character. I'm not really sure why they made this decision. Maybe they listened to the podcast where I was like, Conan sucks, he's the worst character ever, and they're like, oh yeah, no.
Blame Dink.
Oh no. Let's buff this character, give him 100 more health to make up for it. And it's all my fault. I've created this monstrosity by my lack of knowledge.
When you can have a character as low as 850 and a character, 850 health and a character as high as 1200 health, that is like way too much of a health differential. Regardless of, the pros and cons of the teams and what they're trying to do, their game plans and stuff. That's just like way too much. Like, you're like killing them health 1.5 times, I feel like,
It's like a boss battle or some shit. I mean, maybe that's the point, but I mean, I don't like that in fighting games. Like, save that for invasions or something. I don't want to be fighting against this giant ass health bar. Well, no. But I'll gladly be that giant ass health bar, so expect some Conan Shujinko shenanigans from me in the future. I'm pretty excited to make some people salty. Maybe I run the rest of the Combat League season with that. See how high I can go. I don't like to get zoned, though. That might be a problem. I guess that's what my huge jumping one is for. That thing reaches freaking forever.
You're just going to have to be patient and do some walking and blocking there, Dink. And then you're in range of your half screen standing normals and you'll be okay.
I do have that armored run.
Yeah. And for the memes, when people don't know what to do, you can just keep canceling it over and over again. So he goes, he sounds like a Murloc, from Warcraft.
Yeah. I can't. I'm not familiar with that. It always kind of reminded me of Opie from Family Guy. You know who that is?
Yeah, well, you should look it up on YouTube when we're done here and then insert it into the conversation right after you said, I don't know what that sounds like.
I will.
And it'll be a or whatever. I don't do a Murloc.
I mean, that was probably pretty good. If I opened it up and that's exactly what it sounds like, that's pretty good. Good luck. On the other spectrum of things, T1000 got hit on the other side. So 50 health taken away from him. Reduce hitbox on the spike outside of a combo, and then reduce the damage of that jump attack that he does, which is super obnoxious. I don't think that this really kills a character in any means. T1000 still seems quite strong and still has a really good mix off of that. Was it forward four or four?
Yes,
bunch of
that
fours.
Standing 4 string.
Yeah, still like super duper obnoxious mix off of that. And then, of course, but I think T1000 seems to be kind of locked behind the Movado cameo a little bit. At least from what I've seen, no one's kind of ventured out from that too far. I did see a Sonya T1000 one time, but it wasn't really that scary.
I think that's why they did it. Like, instead of changing Movado, like, how do we get this team under control? And this is like what makes him really broke with Movado, is that he had that full screen low that Movado could combo off of. Even though that moves negative, like on block, and they had just nerfed that the patch before to make that more punishable. So it doesn't go as far anymore. Like the far version of it goes barely further than like the mid version of it.
Right.
And now it's also a 900. We were just talking about health differentials, right? Now it's a 900 health team. So, but I saw Diddle post yesterday. It's like, is it just me, or is T1000 just as fucked up as before? And that post is full of comments saying it's not just you, bro. Nope, nope. It's still silly. He's just not getting the stray like neutral hits with the full screen low and stuff anymore. But the mix is still the mix, and somebody said that it introduced new tick grabs. One of the changes. Yeah,
that's unfortunate. So like shadow buff,
or maybe they were just saying he's still fucked up because he has so many tick grabs. Maybe I misunderstood that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see if Tweety sticks with him, then that's how I'll know he's still fucked up. We all know that Tweety likes to play the top tier stuff, and he's even been on record saying like, I don't like that. I don't want to think. I just want to just play the broke shit that works, and like
yeah.
That's
what he said in the patch video. He's like, that's what I'm like looking to do. So am I dropping T1000 because I'm looking to like tier whore out here? I'm not looking to dedicate myself to a character. He's like, I spent all of MK11 doing that with Geras, and you remember Geras was really strong at first, but he got nerfed like literally every patch to where it was kind of like, all right, I almost am starting to feel bad. Dude, he was like the biggest terror at launch. I feel like, he was that character.
He was. I've told this story on here before when I was at Combo Breaker and I was watching Destroyer, and in just like 1 round, 3 crushing blows, GG's. It was like 10 seconds, and it was over.
I feel like crushing blows really ruined that game.
100%. It was like all of the new stuff that they put in, the regenerating meter, the breakaways, the crush, like literally everything they tried to put into that game sucked. I didn't care for really any of it. Like I totally get where they were trying to pull back from the craziness of those MKX, but they just went completely the wrong direction with it, like just too far the other way.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to adjust a lot of things that people were complaining about in MKX and Injustice 2. And a lot of that was meter. Like that was all NRS era games up until MK11. There were characters that just had the meter advantage, and you didn't gain meter by blocking things, right? While there, if you block something, or get hit by something, then the opponent's gaining meter. So, this was a really common complaint with like Piercing Molina, is that, psi, all this sort of stuff, build and bar. Okay, now I can break, so I can take a really big risk. And then as soon as you break, it resets neutral, and she just does it all over again, feeding herself meter and using to spend it that way, all while you get no meter, like while you're forced to, blocking stuff, Sorcerer Quan, things like that. And Justice had all sorts of shit like that too. So I think that's why they introduced okay, everyone's just got the same meter, and you can even just build it passively. You don't even need to be doing anything, whether you're blocking or hitting them, or you're both just sitting there staring at each other, figuring out your lunch order. You're still gaining meter.
Still gaining meter. Speaking of that, there's one more thing I want to mention about this patch, because I don't think there's really too much else noteworthy. There were some changes to Scorpion, and I spent probably a good 5 minutes, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it's a long time when all you're doing is going through a moves list, trying to find out what move was rope spin. Because in the patch notes, it says rope spin now hits overhead and has 23 startup frames. So I'm looking
they did that with a bunch of moves.
And I'm looking for rope spin. I'm like, what is it? It's like called Kaizo's Twist or something like that. And so I'm trying to, this is what they meant, but they just wrote rope spin. Okay. That was an interesting choice.
The patch notes always use the move list name, and they always say, down, back, front punch, or down, forward, back kick, and things like that. And like most of the moves didn't even have the input there. And they misnamed. They were just like, shit, what's that called? I don't know. So they just made their best guess, or maybe I thought that was really weird too. Not to mention the buff. It's an overhead now, but have you seen some of the counterplay to it? Like even like getting hit by it, like you can jump out between the gap or something.
Really? They just absolutely gutted that move. I didn't think it was that strong to begin with anyway. Like you just flawless block at any point in time. Like you literally just have to tap the block button and you'll flawless block, and then there's no chip damage. So I don't know why they increased it to 2 bars, and now it's safe, I guess.
Well, because have you ever seen MK Javier play?
Oh, with the Jax shenanigans?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it feels like, an answer to that sort of, like we were just talking about T1000 Movado. This might be trying to throttle back the old block string into unblockable.
Yeah, that might make. But he didn't need to.
And if you can get off the ground, even on hit, I should have researched that before we started recording this. I definitely saw a clip of somebody doing it. But anyway, then Scorpion would get hit by the Jax, and you're off the ground even if you get hit by the next hit of the thing. So you're still, I guess, taking that damage. I don't know. I don't know what the point was of that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the balance is. Sometimes I think that they know things that we don't know. They found stuff, but I really don't think this is one of those. I don't think anything in the patches any of that, to be honest. Like, it all seems pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward. Like, Reiko's adjusted hitbox of Reap the Whirlwind. I saw some pretty disgusting things with that, and I feel like that's kind of what they were trying to address with that. So I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty intentional, pretty cut and dry. Which is where I want to get to my final point discussion with you about this. Is this Mortal Kombat 1 now? Is this the game?
Is this your final point or your definitive point?
I like what you did there. That was nice. Is this, with this patch, the definitive version? Because initially, like the definitive pack or whatever it was called was actually advertised.
Ultimate Edition, Legendary Edition. Here's all the shit. We're done. Now you can buy it all in one sweet little package and stuff.
Yeah, so that was actually on the store before they officially announced it. And then
I saw it.
We did it out. It was posted in our MK1 leaks and spoilers section in our Discord, which is not a spoiler anymore. It's out there.
And just hours later, it was out there.
Yeah, literally hours later. And then at first I was like, okay, well, we still have to wait for the movie skins to come out. So maybe there's something else happening with that. But then I checked the store and there they are right there. I'm like, oh,
there's all the movie skins.
Well, there goes that idea. So, I'm actually okay if it is the final patch. I think that there's some craziness in this game, but with the tragedy that has been Mortal Kombat 1, I'm kind of ready for it to go away. I'm ready now. The excitement, all the optimism for the future, it's done, settled. All right, this is the game. I'll play until the next one.
Acceptance. You grieved, and now you're accepting.
Yep, all the times that we have sat in our respective chairs, and I've been like, oh, well, maybe this, or maybe for the next, at this point,
no.
I got nothing.
We're ready. We're ready to wait for the game to let its guard down, and we're going to smother it with a pillow.
Yes, exactly. Let's never speak of this again.
I don't think it's the final patch. I think they're done with content for sure. Like, because they've done that with literally every other game. As soon as you get the version of the game that is the DLC plus whatever the base game was, and however many combat packs. So, like, MK11 was Aftermath plus the extra little combat pack, things like that. They're definitely done. Even though they haven't come out and said that they're done, we're right in the middle of a pro tour and all that.
Yeah.
The season 2, however they got the funds and whatever they had to do together for that, maybe it was already really so fleshed out, and sponsors and stuff that it would have cost WB money to actually cancel the tour instead of the other way around. Who knows how all that accounting and stuff like that works. But it feels like Madame Bo being added as a cameo, even though it was clearly not in the cards at first. It feels like these consolation prizes they've been giving us, which is fine. Like, poor MK1 never even had a chance, just doomed from the start. And most of the first year of the game was a complete shit show, just issue after issue after issue. And the game finally gets to a good state. And then we've got leaks about it might be over because Chaos Reigns didn't do well, and all of the kind of discourse that starts, and people in denial, and people that have seen it before. And now here we are, kind of again with the definitive edition, where people are like, "Nope, it says end more at the end," and it's like the end more is literally everything in the game that wasn't the 4 points they showed before that, like invasions and all of that stuff. There's just no way. And I don't think so. The shrine message, people are kind of like, I don't know. It says like the shrine's complete. This it sounds like the end of the game, and it's kind of like maybe just the shrine's done. I don't think that really was a sign that the game was done, but you know, you can retroactively look at it now and it fits the narrative, but I don't
And the timing.
I don't know. But I'm with you. I'm kind of like ready to move on and you know, still play it for the lulls. But
yeah, like sometimes,
you know, in the meantime.
Sometimes I'll go back to old games, and like MKX I'll play every once in a while. Justice 2 I'll play every once in a while. And I really do feel like MK1 is going to join that for me. Like, even with whatever game comes next, Injustice 3 or whatever it is, I really do think that I'll come back and play MK1 because I really do enjoy the gameplay. Who knows how I'll remember any of the combos or cameos or anything like that. I might just have one or two teams I come back to. But I really feel like this game has good replayability as far as like how fun the gameplay is, in my opinion. I don't think that's something that they faltered on at all.
I agree. I think I'll go back to it every once in a while because so I've just kind of settled on like the two main teams, and that's enough for me, especially now that I know that it's, you know, kind of over. I bet we'll get another little patch or two, like small little tweaks here and there. They tend to do that like towards the end, maybe when they're closer to saying, okay, we're like what they did in MK11. We're officially moving on. There'll be no more support for this game, and we're working on our next project. Like they were very explicit with that after like all the long silence, and I think people really had to harass them for that. You know, this is part of their "we'll be better, we'll do better at communicating." You know, and that lasted for like 2 communications, and then it was back to like the same old.
Radio
not to
silence.
rehash that, you know, that whole thing, but I think that we'll get a couple more patches, and I think it'll be fun to go back every once in a while. And you know, I really like Molina Sector. I think it's just so fun having rockets out there and hitting people with low size, you know, just trying to walk away or dash away from it. And then, you know,
this is so interesting.
If you're in roll range, if you're in ball roll range, you know, that is a super fun way to kind of play neutral.
This is so interesting to see this flip flop because I don't think we're getting any more patches. I'm the pessimist this week. I am the one who's saying, I don't think we are. I think your head's in the sand there, hater. I think
what evidence do you have that this is the last patch other than we have the definitive edition? Because if you look back at the other games, they still patched after we got the complete edition or the legendary edition. There was like, you know, kind of like sayonara little tweaks like before they pieced out, and Justice definitely did.
The only one that I can remember, and I mean, I'm easily going to be proven wrong on this, but this is just what I remember. The only change I remember in MK11's life was just the Shiva nerf, just being like, all right, character's done, boom, killed it, bye, we're moving on.
It wasn't just that. There was a few things on there, right? But that was the main takeaway.
It was like the biggest thing of all of that was, just kind of the Shiva hotfix. So like maybe something like that for like, you know, at the end T1000 or something like that, just, okay, don't, character's dead, move on, you know. He sold us. Right. We sold as many T1000s as we're going to. We're moving on. You know, the character's not OP anymore. You know, so like, I if there is something, I think it would be something small like that. Nothing substantial or anything like that. But that's just me at this point in time. So I would love to see more. It's not like I don't want to see this game. I still think there are a couple tweaks they could make to make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more balanced. You know. But I don't think anything more substantial is coming. Definitely not content, but I mean, that's pretty clear to me by the definitive edition. So,
okay, so I'm gonna walk backwards a little bit here because I think the last patch is the Enchantress patch for Injustice, and that was in February 2018. Legendary Edition came out on March 27th, 2018, so it was definitely after that. So I definitely may be wrong. I think that yep.
Okay.
Look at me wiping the egg off of my face. Okay, I'll agree with you. This could be the last patch. No, I'm definitely open to that idea.
Look at you fact checking yourself. I love that. I love to see that.
Yeah, in the moment. In real time.
I certainly wasn't. I just.
I mean, I want to be talking about real stuff. I don't want this to be baked into a YouTube video for all of eternity. Just completely spreading misinformation.
Yeah, how dare you? At least he bothered to check. I just went from memory and I was like, nope, I'm pretty sure this is what, and that's my opinion. I don't know, just something like that. But
Dude, the game came out on May the 9th, 2017. And not even a year later was the Legendary Edition.
That's sad. I mean,
the problem is people have been so quick to point out that Ed Boon is way too eager to let us all know that they're breaking the 2-year cycle. So they've done this 2 years in a row. I think COVID definitely threw a curveball into MK11.
oh,
And
definitely.
thank God they didn't decide to support that one for 5 or 6 years. I would fucking die. I definitely would be a Street Fighter player or something. There's just no way. And then MK1, the WB shit show or like whatever, but still on all the press tours and all the whatever, we're going to be supporting this for years to come. It's going to be the longest, not this kind of MK11 was like a technicality. Technically, we did support it for 4 months longer than the other one. It's like, okay, when you say that it's going to be the longest supported game, then you're like, yep, we're like 5 minutes after the last one. That's what it like feels like. Like you're selling me a used car is like what that feels like. That feels like gross to me. If that's the kind of like technicality that they want to rely on to that. And I'm sure there's things out of his control. If he comes out for the next game and starts talking about how it's going to be the longest supported game, I'm not even going to buy it. Like, come on. No. And even if it has the potential to be, just keep it to yourself until you're absolutely sure we're already like at that mark where you expect the game to end and then you surprise us with new content. Like what they say, like when you're like writing movies or something, right? Show, don't tell. Don't be lazy and just say it. Like, let me learn about this by showing it to me, right? That's what I expect from the next game, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and to be fair with MK1, the first year of that game was just getting it to something that might be a acceptable release. The game that might be like, okay, well, this, I mean, it's still like online practice only works for like 5 minutes and then it starts to lag out like crazy. There's no online rooms. There's just so much missing from this game. That's
MKX and MK11 both outsold this game. Like even at this point, MK11's their biggest selling game, like 15 million, I think
That's
saw
crazy.
and this game's at like 5, and like 3 of that was in the first just couple months.
Yeah, and then it just never recovered because people bought it and they were like, wow, this game sucks. Like you read some of the reviews on it and it's pretty clear what people thought. So I really, really hope they learn some lessons going forward. I hope that WB kind of understands what their role is in helping them create a game. And I hope we don't see a disaster like this and then whatever the next game is to come, which seems to me to be Injustice 3.
Yeah.
Or some
those games sell worse than Mortal Kombat 11. So I was reading this earlier, just somebody like speculating. It's like if the Injustice games sell so much worse than Mortal Kombat, and what WB's doing with all this tomfoolery, right? The rushed early release and then just kind of pulling the ripcord, before the intended life of the game, just due to performance or sales or whatever.
Right.
It still sells more than Injustice does. So if what they want to do is make money, then the play would be to make another Mortal Kombat game if what they're looking for is a cash grab. However, we know that James Gunn in February he talked to NRS and he talked to Rocksteady about DC IPs. So he's like the Kevin Feige of DC Studios right now. Like I'm not sure what else he's in charge of outside of film, but that new Superman movie that's coming out, and they're really trying to rehabilitate his image from the kind of like 2010s of, dark, edgy Superman is cool. And it was kind of like cool before, like we saw it 45 times.
Right.
So I wonder if part of that conversation was, let's do another Injustice, and I don't know what you're going to call it or, what we're going to do for like whatever, but we need to like rehabilitate the fucking Justice League. And I agree. Like the story was novel in the first one. The second one was so cringy. Oh my gosh.
Really
just
bad.
Wonder Woman, Robin, and Superman just so cringy.
So do you think they would rebrand the entire series? Like kind of Injustice 1 and Injustice 2 are its things. They're done. This one is,
I think they'd subtitle it, Does it have enough brand recognition where people would even know, or is it just enough to have Batman and Superman and Supergirl and stuff like that in your game and people are just going to buy it? Do they need the name recognition?
I don't really
or
think
would they
do.
subtitle it like the first one?
Yeah, like they could do. The thing is, like, now it seems that Injustice is synonymous with evil Superman. So, like, if people are done with that storyline or like weren't big fans of that storyline, like, I don't know the feedback they got. Maybe everybody loved it, and I just was the only one that didn't like that story. But I kind of think that's probably not the case, given I'm not even a comic book fan. So, if they know that people are done with that story arc, are they going to continue calling it that, or they could call it something completely different, or start anew? You know,
all I know is that if the word justice or injustice is in it, that E is gonna be a 3. I can just feel it in my bones. Don't do it; it's too obvious. Unless it looks super sick, but
like Mortal Kombat X, you know, it's not Mortal Kombat 10, it's Mortal Kombat X. You know,
I love that, and I think that MKX rolls right off the tongue way more than MK10 or Mortal Kombat 10 or saying any of that stuff.
Feels jarring calling it Mortal Kombat 10 now. I've always called it Mortal Kombat X. I remember Ed Boon showing a picture of the back of a car that said MKX on it in the leading up before they've even like announced what it was called. I wonder if he drives that. I wonder if that's his car. You think that would be his car?
Yeah, he's like, hey, look at this guy I saw. I promise I didn't just dox myself.
yeah, license plate and all that kind of thing.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what the future holds, because we know that they did say they wanted to put a focus on Mortal Kombat. But also focus on Batman as well. So where NRS kind of falls with juggling those two things, I thought that there was maybe a chance that MK1 was just kind of going to be like this, you know, in the background, kind of worked on every once in a while. Here's a character every 6 months or something like that. But that appears to not be the case now. So I don't know where the Mortal Kombat franchise goes after this. I hope we get a story that's not some stupid time traveling. I'd like to go back. I say this at the end of every game's life, but I really want to go back to like the original, like Great Kung Lao, original Mortal Kombat tournament, like that whole era. And there's so many new characters you could introduce, and like a whole new story of a new tournament and those types of things, and the rise of Goro. And I don't know, I think there's just so much story to be had there that I would like to see that would kind of bring that series back. And they don't even need to explain it. They don't even need to be like, oh, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, you know, ended all the hourglasses and now they're starting over. So just pretend none of that happened. It was a fever dream. We're starting again. Here we go. Mortal Kombat 2 or something. I don't know what would you call it at that point.
They replayed the whole story climax, and then, you know, it cuts to Johnny Cage, you know, jolting awake in bed. Oh, it was such a horrible dream.
That would actually be hilarious. Like, oh well, better get ready for the tournament now. You know?
Dude, that'd be so lazy. Oh my gosh,
that'd be the laziest. But like, honestly,
we don't need any more multiverse stuff.
No, get rid of all that stuff.
No more rebooting. Figure something out. I don't know.
Just a new original story. You don't need to go too overboard with it. So, but we'll see. We'll just gotta wait for an announcement and kind of go from there, I guess. So,
yep.
But that's it for another week. Let us know what you think of the balance changes and all that kind of stuff, and where you'd like to see NRS go next. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, because it really helps me out. And subscribe if you haven't, because I make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks and all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.